Thank you for joining today's session. We will be getting started shortly. We do have a lot of folks signed up for today's session, and we want to give everyone a moment to log on and get connected so that we can dive into today's session. I do want to thank you all for joining us today. I'm Jasmine Garrett here with the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Today's session is an informational overview on the iDMS portal, a demonstration on how to submit an annual report in the NextGen portal. A quick housekeeping note, we do suspect that many questions will be answered in today's presentation. However, you're able to write in questions at any point during the presentation using Zoom's Q&A feature. It is one of your Zoom command options and will allow us to make sure we're able to get back to you and let others see these questions and answers as well. Today's session is being recorded and will also be posted on our NJEDA and YouTube pages. The slides and other resources will also be available in the next few days. Now to get us started with the presentation, I will shift things over to NJEDA's Director of Incentives, Servicing and Compliance, Kira Black. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. Good morning, everyone. I'm Kira Black. I am the Director of Tax Credit Compliance in the Incentive Servicing and Compliance Department. Thank you all again for joining us. Today, we have part 3 of our training sessions to allow a CPA to become qualified to be able to submit the GROW EOA annual reports on behalf of the GROW companies, in addition to completing the AUP report that is now required for those GROW EOA annual reports. So we did the initial training 1, which was the AUP guidance. We furnished you all with that guidance. Training 2 was showing what the EDA does with respect to ensuring we are compliant with respect to jobs, bonus verification, and the certifications that the CFO or the comparable person to the CFO if the company does not have one. And so today's training, we're going to go over the actual submission of that required annual report. So what is needed to be able to put that report into our portal within that 120-day deadline that is mandated. So with that, we will go ahead and allow my colleague Rich to go ahead and get that part of the training started. Rich?
Thank you, Kara. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this third training session. This training session, as Kara had said, is going to be focused on the iDMS NextGen portal. Next slide, please. As in the previous other 2 trainings, Kira Black is on the panel and my colleague Tanya Williams as well. And I am, as I said, Rich Dickinson. I'm Program Manager in the Tax Credit Compliance, Incentive Servicing and Compliance Department. Next slide. Today is just a general overview and training session. It's being held to review the iDMS NextGen portal, which is to be utilized by the qualified CPAs when preparing the submission of the certifications and supporting documents for the annual report that must accompany the annual certification requirements for the GROW EOA projects. Those will be the projects that are effective with the annual reports due April 30th of 2026 and thereafter. As Kira had said earlier, this is the third training session. There was 2 previous training sessions, one held on Monday, which went over the GROW New Jersey AUP guidance, and then the training that was held on Tuesday with the NJEDA policies and procedures that we follow when reviewing jobs for bonuses. Next slide. This training will go over the steps of the NextGen portal with obtaining access rights, navigating to the annual report, entering, editing, and reviewing any information, which could be company details, statewide details, the annual job report, the required documents, and then a final screen that is a review and submit for the annual report. Obtaining access rights. First of all, to obtain access rights to the company's annual reports, a certification of delegation must be executed by the CFO or the highest ranking officer and emailed to the servicing officer. In that email that is sent to the incentive officer, there is some additional information along with the certification that must be attached to the document, and that information should be the full name and title of the CPA and any other delegates that the company wishes to give access to the annual reports. That And that certification of delegation must happen every year, even if you are continuing on with the same people the following year. So in the email, there should be all the individuals' first full name and title, their email address, the company name and the address of the company, along with a contact number for that individual that you're giving delegation to. On the screen here, you'll see that there is a link for the NextGen portal. You don't need to copy this link down. This will be provided in the email that will be sent to you once we have received that email with all the delegation information. Next screen. Once you have received the email from us giving you delegation, there will be the link in there to the NextGen portal, which we showed on the prior screen. When you click on that link, it will take you to the screenshots here that's on the left side of the screen. Can you go back one slide? I think we missed. Yes, here. When you click on that link, you'll see the screenshot here at the bottom where it says sign in. You'll click the sign in button. Now to the next slide, please. And the screenshot here on the left side will pop up with the NextGen login. If this is your first time accessing the system, you'll scroll down to the bottom where it says don't have an account, and you'll click on the sign up now. That will bring up the screenshot here that's on the right, where you'll put in your email address and click on send verification code. When you click that button, a box will open up for a verification code to be typed in. You'll want to retrieve that code from your email, put that code in, and continue on following, putting in a password, and then your first name, last name, and when you do all that, the create button, which is shaded out right now, will become active for you to be able to click on and create your account. Next screen. When you click that create button, this screenshot will come up. You want to verify that information. All the information that we had asked for in the email should be in here with your full name, your title, your email address, your company name, your address, and contact information. If any of that information is incorrect, in the bottom portion of the screen, you would click the down arrow and click no, and in the box to the right, you would put the information that needs to be corrected and click save. When you do that, our portfolio services email will get a message stating that there has been a needed update, and we would go in and correct that information for you. Next screen. If you have already signed in and you have been retained by several different companies to work on their annual reports, you do not have to create an account each time. When you get to that sign-on screen, you would just enter your email and password that you had previously set up for another company. All users will have a unique ID and password, and that should not be shared. So once you sign in, the top part of the screen up here in green will show up. You would click on Manage Projects, and then the bottom part of the screen will show up. At first, when you first click on Manage Projects, the annual report may not show up. You would have to click on the product and company name that's in the area in white, and then the portion to the right will show up with the actual annual report that you have been delegated access to. And in order to access that annual report, you would click on Edit, which is on the right side of the screen in blue. It's a blue link that says Edit. And you would click on that, and it would open up the annual report. Next screen, please. In the annual report, there are five tabs. There could be an instance where if there is no statewide required for the company to report, the statewide tab would be missing. So you would only have 4 tabs rather than 5. Those 5 tabs, as you can see on the screen here, are company details, statewide details, if they're required to report statewide. If they're not required to report statewide, that button will be missing. The annual job report screen, the required document screen, and then the review and submit screen. So we'll be reviewing each one of those tabs. On the first tab, the company details tab, there are actually 3 tabs within this one tab, and the first one is the company information. In the top, there's some areas here that we have blacked out with the company name, a product number that the company has been assigned, what type of product type it is, and for EOA, these should all be GN2TC. The year of the report that you're working on, you would want the status to be in company revision, the tax filing end date of the company, and then who their servicing officer is. And then down below, again, you'd want to check the company name, the EIN, that is, EIN to ensure that it is correct, and the primary contact, which should be the CFO or the highest ranking official. At the time that the CPAs are reviewing it, there should not be a confirmation number because if the report has not been submitted, the confirmation number will show up once the report has been submitted during step 5, the review and submit process. Next screen. The next screen up top, if the company has been approved for having any affiliates associated with the account, those will show up here. A unique affiliate ID that is assigned by EDA would show up under the affiliate ID, the affiliate's legal name, their EIN. If they happen to be a professional employer organization, under that column, it would say yes, and then the start date of that affiliate being recognized as an approved affiliate for the GROW program. The third tab in the company detail section would be the qualified business facility. We've blacked that information. However, it would be the company's address, street, if there is a suite number or floor number, that should show in the street number 2 column, and then city, county, and zip code. If any of that information, again, is incorrect, there is an area to be able to say that that information is not correct and a box to be provided for entering the correct information. Next screen. Now we're on to the statewide details screen. Again, if the company is not required to report on statewide, this tab would be missing. So in this case, we showed an example of a company that is requiring statewide, and the first button on here, or first tab, is the WR30 count. The WR30 count is the final number that's on the bottom of the WR30 reports that were submitted to the Department of Labor. You do want to make sure that the WR30 reports that you are looking at were the ones that were submitted to DOL, as this information has to be correct. And on the last page of the WR30, there is usually a head count for the number of employees that reported on there. That number on the bottom of that last page of the WR30 should be the same as this column here that we're pointing to that says WR30. Next screen. The next screen is the actual statewide full-time employee screen. As you can see, there are several columns here with the quarters listed out and the months, along with a statewide number and a WR30 number. The WR30 number will be pulled over from the previous screen and should not be changed. This screen here, you should print out the certificate of annual statewide workforce that is on tab number 4 to confirm that the numbers that are on the certification match what has been entered here. If for some reason those numbers do not match, you can click on the button to the right and update that number. However, if there is a change, a new certification must be uploaded. Next screen, please. Next screen. Now we're on to the job log, and we're going to be switching to our job log template to discuss this. However, before you would do this, is the CPA would download the job log that has already been provided by the company. So they would click the download job log button, and open up that file that opens up to be able to review it. If we can go to the job log template, please. As we wait for the job log template to be open, there are several columns within here that have drop-down selections. We've stressed with the companies that when they're updating this job log, which is empty, we have it empty, that you do not type over any information that's used via a drop-down menu. And then you can see that there are several columns here for the companies to use and for the CPAs to verify. So as they're moving along here, you want to make sure that in the employing entity that the name is showing up correctly. Via the dropdown, this is a column that should not be typed over. If the name happens to be wrong, we should be notified immediately so that we can correct it, and then we could notify you to re-download the job log with the correct employing entity name. Job title. Job title, there are two job titles or combination of words that we are looking for that would require a further explanation, which would be provided in column L. And those are any title that has sales or driver. If those two words are within a job title, there should be a job title explanation explaining why that person is eligible to be on the job log. Next important hire date. If doing a job log, it should be for the annual reporting cycle that they are reporting. It's all previous employees, anybody hired during 2020. You guys will be going to be working on the 2025 annual report. So anybody hired in 2025, anybody that is hired in 26, when this log is being reviewed, should not be on here. So if an individual was hired in 2026, that person would not or should not be on this log for 2025. Termination date. If anybody was terminated in the prior year, 2024, they should not appear on this log. Only people that have been terminated in 2025 should appear with a date in this column. If somebody was terminated in 2026, that termination date should be removed and be blank because you're working on a 2025 annual report. State of residency, this is another dropdown that gives several selections. If for some reason the option of other is selected, an explanation in column P must be provided, given an explanation of why that individual has been chosen. Their state of residency was chosen outside of the 5 states that we are allowed to incent in the New Jersey GROW program. Job classification is the next one, column Q. There's a drop down here for multiple selections. Anything other than full-time should be given an explanation in column R. So if a company has selected anything other than full-time, we do require that an explanation be provided in column R, explaining why that person should be eligible to be incented. The next column, S, is the QBF address. That QBF address should align with the QBF address that was shown in the company detail screen, along with the address that is on the qualified business certification. Those addresses should align. If for some reason a company has edited the certification and added in a suite number, a floor number, maybe the address, just any change in there, we should be notified immediately so that we can make that correction. Next 3 columns are also drop-down options with the required work time at the QBF, offered health benefits, work 35 hours. All these categories were reviewed shortly in the presentation that was given on Wednesday about employee eligibility. The next set of columns are the monthly columns where a response of yes or no should be entered. And then we'll move over to column AI. If a company has a salary bonus, these columns AI, AJ, AK, AL, and AM are not required if they are eligible for a salary bonus. These 5 columns can be blank or with a 0 value in there. They do not need to be filled out for a company that does not have a salary bonus. If the company is eligible for a salary bonus, those columns should be filled out from the WR30 information. The next column over, starting with column AN through AR, are the weeks worked that were presented on the WR30. If for any reason that a value is below 12, an explanation is required in column AT. So if you have somebody that did not work 12 weeks or 13 weeks, an explanation is required. Now, we understand that there could be somebody hired during the year, and that would be if somebody was hired mid-quarter, that in that quarter, we'd only be expecting to see maybe 6 or 7 weeks for that quarter. And in the explanation, it should just say hire date. The next column that's important is the annual salary. The annual salary is the annual salary that the person would have been paid if they worked an entire year. You do not want to put in here a salary that is anything less than what they would have worked if they were with the company the entire year. So if they were scheduled to make 50,000 and they only worked half a year, you do not, that value should say 50,000, not 25,000. So it should be what they, again, I stress the fact that it is the annual salary that they would have made if they worked an entire calendar year. We can go to the salary bonus tab. Salary bonus, this template will be provided to the CPAs. We've added a few columns in here with some formulas to help in determining the salary bonus. In that if, depending on the number of weeks, or if the column is answered either yes or no for the month, we determine by taking a salary of the lower of either the annual salary or the WR30 wages that were reported to DOL. So that calculation is already in there for you qualified CPAs to be able to determine if a company meets for a salary bonus. So we will be providing this template at the end of the training and in the following weeks for you guys to help you with your determination. We can go back to the PowerPoint slide. Right, we can go to the next slide. Our next slide is the required and supplemental docs. Sorry for the size of this slide, as I wanted to show all the available options. The size of this slide, sorry for it being so small. However, you can see the name of each certification here, whether or not that certification is required during submission, whether or not it's been uploaded, a short document code that we use, and then there is a column that says upload document date. That is the date that the company uploaded the document or that the CPA has uploaded a document. And there is if for any template, for any certification that needs to be redone for any reason, if there's been an update or something, you can click on the link that says template, and that will bring up the certification, an empty template that the company can refill out and execute. And you can be able to see any upload. You click on the little plus sign there, and when you click on that, it comes up with the document that's been uploaded. You can also use that button to upload documents as well. So you can see, by clicking that button, you can see documents that have been uploaded, and you can upload documents via that button. It is recommended that before you start the review, that there are several certifications here that you should come to this screen and have at your access or have open. And it's often, we recommend that the annual affiliate certification is opened. The certificate of annual statewide workforce is open, the qualified business facility certification open, and then the WR30s. Those are the 4 documents that I would recommend to have open before you start your process of reviewing the company details that we reviewed on tab number 1. The CPAs will upload upload any of their supporting documents in the category under Other. There's multiple, you can upload multiple documents to this section, and this is where you would upload your AUP, your engagement letter, your peer review, and any other supporting documents of how you came to the average number of employees, the median salary, large number of jobs bonus, any of the bonuses that we require additional information, they would be uploaded here under the Other category. Go to the next screen. And the final screen is I didn't include a screenshot here as it's a very large and long screen. It's a screen that provides all the information from all the prior 4 screens. So it will show the company details, the affiliates, the QBF location. It will show the statewide information. It will show the entire job log. So if you have, in a case of a very large company, thousands of employees, it's going to show every employee on this screen. So this screen is pretty large. So as I said, there's no screenshot for this. However, at the bottom of that screen, there is a submit button. And if all the information is correct, the CPA would then click submit, and an email will be sent to the EDA as well as the primary contact stating that the report has been submitted, and it will show a date and a confirmation number. That confirmation number, as I discussed, will be filled in on that first screen, on the company detail screen. That will be filled in there at that time that the file is submitted. It is important that you do submit the report within the 120-day deadline of the company's tax filing end date. So it is recommended to submit these reports as early as you could. You don't want to wait to the 120-day deadline, as if there's something missing. We don't want to have any companies forfeit for any missing details or any missing certifications. So we do recommend that reports are submitted at the earliest possible date. Next screen. That concludes our training for today. We do wish that you scan the QR code here so that we can capture your attendance. And we will now take a look to see if there's any questions in the Q&A area.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rich, for going through that for us. We understand that the job log and submitting in the portal is, it could look very intimidating, but we try to make it as user-friendly as possible and as self-explanatory as possible when clicking through the various tabs in the portal. And again, we are here. If you have questions while this is being done, feel free to reach out to us. You will be provided with an email box to be able to get in contact with us. And then there's also the assigned incentive officer who will be working, with you on that report. But okay, let's go to the Q&A section and review the questions that are there. The first question states, just confirming that any employees that do not qualify should not be included on the job log, even though they are included in the WR30. So if the employee is, an intern or a part-time employee, no, you wouldn't put that employee there. You would list the full-time employees there. If it is a full-time employee with, as Rich mentioned, the sales position, or for the driver position, that employee, if it is not able to be determined that that employee physically works in the qualified business facility, then that employee would be deemed ineligible and therefore rejected. So you can list that employee on the log. But again, if we aren't able to discern if that employee is physically working in the QBF for the required amount of time, then that employee would therefore be rejected. So list full-time employees on the log. And if you have questions while you're doing that, again, reach out to the assigned incentive officer or to the email box that we furnish you so that we can make sure that you are listing the proper people that would be able to be incented on the log. Next question. If an employee is hired or terminated mid-month, are they eligible for the month or not. So what we see as one being eligible is that they have worked to the end of that month. So if they are not employed as of the last day of the month, then no, we are not going to include them in the average job calculation for that month. Next question, for the salary info, if the employee has a salary of 50K but worked OT or received a bonus, do we enter 50K or the higher amount with OT and bonus? So yes, you can enter the amount that the salary that they actually earned for the month, except for, what are the exceptions? I forget.
Stock options.
Stock options, that's right. So you can list the bonus and the OT for that employee. You're going to list their actual salary that they earned, but if it's a stock option involved, then no, that would not be listed. Next question, how should the monthly salary be determined? Annual salary divided by 12 or QR 30 salary divided by 3 or something else? So I'm not familiar with what you mean QR 30 salary divided by 3, so that I'm not able to speak to. But it's not a monthly salary that you're listing. You're just listing that person's salary next to each month that that person is eligible. So if they terminated in June and they started at the top of the year, you're going to list that salary for that person if they meet all the other qualification, all the other columns that you have to answer, where they, work at 35 hours, that they work the required amount of time, where they offer health benefits. If they are able to be incented if they in this project has a salary bonus, you're literally just listing what that person's salary is, their annual salary. So you're going to take, for those projects that have a salary bonus, you're going to take the lesser of the two, which are the WR30 salaries that have been annualized over the 4 quarters, or the salary that the company provided when they gave you the log that they uploaded to the portal. So the lesser of the two is what's going to be listed next to that employee for all the months that that employee is indeed eligible. So you're not going to be listing monthly salaries. You're just listing their annualized salary. Next question. If the CPA finds an error, should they correct them? I thought they shouldn't modify the info the company provided. The company's going to provide upload the log that they complete back into the portal. The CPA is going to have a separate log that they're going to work from. So they're not going to touch or alter the information that the company uploaded back to the portal. But that intel, that data, is what they're going to use to now do this separate log that the CPA is going to work from as their working paper, as they're doing the math, showing the work. So yes, correct. They're not modifying anything that the company gave them. But when they start working on their working paper, if they recognize something like, oh, this doesn't really align, or it's not accurate using the payroll data that I am receiving from the company, or whatever underlying document sources that they have, if it's something that's not accurate on that log that the CPA is working from, is where they're going to make the updates. That's a part of the point of involving the CPA. The WR30 information, we want the CPA to really scrub that information to make sure that what the company is providing to DOL is accurate, because we want to avoid a situation where what the company submitted to DOL is inaccurate, and then now we have to do an amendment to get it updated and corrected so that it can now reflect on this GROW log properly. Because let's just use an example. The company submitted their reporting to DOL that said a person worked for 8 weeks out the year and their salary was $25,000. But when the CPA is reviewing the documentation, they say, well, no, I see this person actually worked 13 weeks out of this quarter and their salary was $52,000. So what the company originally may have submitted to DOL might have not been actually accurate. what the CPA is going to do is determine, is this information correct? And therefore, when the company submits to do DOL, they're submitting accurately the first time and they don't need amendment. Because when it comes to us, if the DOL data says 8 weeks and 25,000 a year, that's what we're going to use. And the company, when we give it our calculations to them, they may say, hey, no, that's wrong. And we say, well, that's what we got from DOL. So to avoid all of that, the CPA is going to work closely with the company and make sure what they are reporting to DOL is accurate. So that way that there won't be a need for an amendment to the WR30. And when we get the WR30, it's reflecting what it truly is, which in my example would have been 13 weeks for the quarter and 52,000 salary. So that's really, really important that those errors are worked out ahead of time before they actually submit to DOL, and therefore we get a WR30 from the company. That is the goal. So it's really important that the CPAs work closely with the company, the payroll department. They're really scrutinizing the information to ensure that when the company submits to DOL, they're submitting properly and the need for an amendment is not there. All righty. Next question. Can you show the attendance QR code again, please? Oh, yes. If someone could put that back on the screen, display that again so that everyone can get that QR code and make sure that their attendance is captured, that would be great. Next question. In a prior session, I think it was mentioned that the CPA firm would create their own version of the log. I did not see that in today's presentation. No, the CPA is not going to create their own version. We're going to give them a template. It's going to be what they are going to use as their working file, as they're showing the work and doing the math. That template is what's going to be furnished to the CPA. So what the process is the company is going to furnish the CPA with the log, with the job log that they are reporting for their annual report. That log is what Rich showed here. They're going to download the log, which should have prior year's information on it, so they might not have to fill out the full log in its entirety because it might be pre-filled from some of the prior year's information. It's going to now get updated with all the information for that current tax year, and then it gets uploaded back into the portal once it's been completed in its entirety. That's the company's data. That's what the company is providing to the CPA firm. The CPA firm is then going to use the template that we're going to provide for them to use that data to then do a working paper, again, showing the math, showing their work of how they are now going through, scrubbing all the information, and then coming up with the average job count with the median salary. So that is the process. Next question, will NJEDA still be obtaining data independently from DOL? So we are doing our due diligence on our end. That is independent of the due diligence that the CPA firm needs to do. Again, it's really going to be very helpful if the due diligence is done ahead of time before the company even submits their actual WR30 filing to DOL. If the CPA firm works with them and makes sure that that data that they submit through to DOL is actually the true and correct information, and it's going to get in DOL's hands accurately. That way, when EDA gets the information from DOL, it is going to support that WR30 report that is submitted with the annual report that you guys put into the portal. So it's really important that that information that is submitted to DOL from the company is accurate and true, and therefore when EDA gets information from DOL, it aligns. and there's no need for an amendment. If the amendments need to happen on the company's end, the company has to submit an amendment because their original submission was not accurate. That's going to slow down the process. It's going to make things have to be in a holding pattern. Either that, or we're just going to utilize the information that is showing what DOL has provided to us, which could be lower numbers, which would impact the average calculation and the salary data. So I hope that answers the question. Next question. Wouldn't it be better for NJEDA to share DOL data with the CPA firm? Well, the company is the entity that is supplying the report to DOL. The company has payroll records. The company knows what their employees did. The company is indicating what the number of weeks the employee worked, the annual salaries that were done that were provided in that quarter. So the company is the actual provider of the information. That is the source of the information. What needs to happen is the company just needs to make sure they report it properly, because sometimes it just doesn't get reported to DOL properly. So now that the CPA is involved, they can assist with that. They can help the company to ensure that this payroll data that you have collected for this entire tax filing period, we need to make sure that when we submit our DOL WR30 information, it is true and accurate. And therefore, there won't be any misalignment. So the data is actually with the company. It's not with DOL. The company provides it to DOL. And it's just up to the company to make sure they provide accurate information to DOL. And DOL is only going to furnish EDA what they receive, confirmation of what they receive. When EDA gets it, we're going to utilize that information. And then some instances, the company comes back and says, oh, that's wrong. And if that's the case, DOL is only providing us what the company provided them. Therefore, the company clearly provided DOL with inaccurate information. We want to avoid all of that. The CPA can help to assist to avoid all of that and make sure that that data is accurate before it even gets submitted to DOL. Okay. Next question. There are frequently discrepancies for various reasons between WR30 and DOL records. This will allow this to be flagged earlier. Right. Exactly. If the CPA is working closely with the company and their payroll records, the CPA can highlight and say, all right, this report that you're about to submit to DOL, there's some discrepancies here. You need to fix all of this before you submit it to DOL. That way, when DOL gets it, they'll have accurate information, and therefore they'll give EDA accurate information. So the CPA is going to really be, helpful in that regard. And I believe that is all of the questions listed here. Just like we did with the general overview webinar, we're going to compile all the questions from all 3 trainings. We will provide answers in that grid. So we'll have all the questions in one column and the EDA responses in another column. And we will furnish everyone with that information so that, again, you can just, even if you didn't ask the question, you'll be able to have that information handy. So again, please go ahead and scan this QR code so we can capture attendance. Only people that have actually attended all 3 training sessions, provided a complete application, and provided us with a peer review report are the only people that would be in consideration for being deemed qualified. So please ensure that all those pieces to the puzzle are provided. In the interim, if you all have any questions, please utilize the portfolio services at njeda.gov mailbox that we have been utilizing up until this point. And that pretty much concludes our training. We do intend to provide this training again in January. So anyone that is perhaps were not able to attend the sessions or review them on the recorded sessions on our YouTube page, we do intend to provide a repeat of these training sessions again in January. So we thank you all for your attendance and for, again, navigating these waters with us as we implement this new change to how the annual reporting is going to be impacted for those reports due April 30th, 2026 and after. And thank you again. We hope you all have a wonderful holiday season. Bye.